By far the most asked question on the YouTube and Instagram is what sort of boat this is. Where did I get it? How did I get it? Where was it built? Etc. So this is going to be a boat tour. Actually, there's going to be part one of the boat tour. I'm going to only show the inside of the boat this time, tell about its construction, its systems, the other important stuff as well. So let's get into it. Schiehallion is 37 foot long and was built in 2005 and launched in 2006. She was designed by John Sayer, a Kiwi guy who is quite famous for building offshore race boats. He specialised in the Melbourne to Osaka, Melbourne Australia, Osaka Japan. It's a short-handed or single-handed race that travels offshore over quite a long distance, and he owns quite a few titles, records and whatnot. He's built quite a few boats, and all of them, owners who have them, love them. And I fall into that category now after 2 years, and I hope it will continue that way. John Smythe, a dentist surgeon from Brisbane, commissioned this boat and helped build it, and it was built in Brisbane at All Yacht Spas. She's 37 foot long. She weighed 4.85 tons at launch, probably a bit more now. Schiehallion is a laminate boat. She has Western red cedar strip planking and fiberglass inside and out, and then Kevlar reinforcing around the keel join and around all slamming areas. The wood planking was a decision that John Smythe took. It cost about 300 kilos in extra weight. John Sayer specialises also in that and said it's well worth it for the extra strength and rigidity of the hull. The boat is 5 ton, but 2.5 ton is in the keel. The bulb is 2.5 ton. So the ballast ratio on this boat is 50%. So I can carry a lot more sail. From the top of the mast to the waterline is 17.5 meters, and can carry quite a lot of sail and sail quite upright, which means you point higher. The fin is doing its job better. It is definitely a performance boat, and but at the same time very strong. I feel very safe in her. I think I am the weakest link in this team, and if the weather gets really rough and everything's get out of control, I will just close all the hatches and I'll come down here and huddle in a corner and let Schiehallion take over. As long as the water stays on the outside, I think we're all good. John Smythe gave me a very, very big reduction in price. I just didn't have any more money to spend on it, and I really wanted it. And he came down to what I could pay, basically. And the funny thing is, the cool story is, I've been sending him pictures and links to my videos and things like that. And he jokingly said to me, wrote back to me one day, if I'd known you were going to use the boat for this sort of thing, I would have given it to you for free. Because I think, he built the boat himself with the help of John Sayer. He sailed it to New Zealand, he sailed it to Fiji, he sailed it all around the Pacific. He raced it all around Australia and Brisbane and things like that. And it was just his age that made him sell it. And I think he was very scared that someone was going to buy this boat and leave it in a marina. Like most other boats in marinas, they don't really go anywhere very often, and they just slowly rot away. The sun eats them. And so for him to see that I'm using it and exploring new places and going fast and really using the boat how it was meant to be used, he is very, very happy about that, and I'm stoked. I'm really proud to own this boat. I didn't imagine I would actually own a boat like this. My budget range was for older boats, 70s, 80s design, very slow, very heavy. Okay, so let's go and take a look. We'll start up the bow, work my way back. Here we go. So this is the V-berth. This is where I normally sleep, apart from when I'm on passage. Then I will sleep on one of the quarter berths or in the cockpit if it's good weather. As you can see, it's very big, plenty of room. It's 2.5 meters long here. Poor man's air conditioning right here. a big hatch, and when you're at anchor the boat follows the wind obviously, so the wind is always coming in from the front, and there's just a great breeze coming through here. Sometimes it's so nice to go to bed and after a hot day and just be, it's just this breeze coming down over you. It's really, really good. And when the breeze isn't blowing, then I have my trusty fan here, which you can move around wherever you want. Under here, I won't open it up, but there is a hatch with my storm sails and my asymmetric spinnaker. Up here, this box, this is one of the reasons that I like this boat. The design thought process was so good. So that is the anchor winch in here in this box. It's inside the bedroom, which might seem a bit weird, but actually whenever I'm pulling the anchor out, I'm not sleeping. The good thing is it's here in this environment. Most boats, the anchor winch is in the chain locker outside, and when you pull up the chain, it's full of algae and seaweed and mud and if you're lucky, just salt water. But you've got your anchor winch, the electric motor, it's in that environment and it stays in that environment, and when it rains and whatever, it's outside. So many people have problems with the anchor winches. That's the reason. It's in a saltwater environment. Here is my one inside, nice and dry, nice and clean, fresh air. In front of this bulkhead here, this is a watertight bulkhead by the way. Chain locker's on the other side, so my anchor winch, the chain just goes into the chain locker and the anchor winch is on the inside. Very, very important detail. Over here I've just got some normal closet space, hanging locker. The next to the bathroom. This is a wet room. Quite a decent size, as you can see. Yeah, everything you need. Basically just the toilet, and this is a shower as well. I have a shower in here sometimes, but mostly I just jump in the water, to be honest. I guess when I sail to colder places I'll use this more often. Here we have the mast coming down to the floor, and the good thing with this is water always comes down a mast. I don't have any leaks around the boot, but there are halyards going up there. There are fittings at the top, and when it rains or when the wind's blowing spray around, water comes down. And being in this room, it's a wet locker. This room is a wet room. It doesn't matter. It goes down this hole. And this is another smart thing on this boat. I don't have a bilge. There's no bilge on this boat. I'll show you the floor shortly. But the water from the bathroom goes into this box, which is a little float level pump, and from there it gets pumped back into the bathroom and down the drain and out into the sea. So quite a smart little, just to recycle the water out of there, because most boats have a bilge. The water will go down into the bilge and then get pumped out, and you have a smelly bilge, and this is just it's a closed cycle. Also down here we have the log, the speed and the depth sounder. Okay, through back into the galley. Galley is quite small, but it has everything I need. And the good thing in the galley here, when it's rough, I can brace myself against this bulkhead and do things. And you need that because apart from if you're on a catamaran where everything stays flat and you don't go in the real ocean. Sorry, you cat guys, you probably hate that. But yeah, often I'm heeled over and crashing around and I need to be braced in here. Stove is on a gimbal. Got a oven with a chicken rotisserie even. Gas cutoff switch. Here we have a single sink, but a very deep one, very big. Salt water, electric salt water, and here foot pump for the fresh water. Normal things up here. Down below, some storage, pots and pans and whatnot. Cleaning gear. I don't spend too much time in the kitchen, just what I need. Although I do like cooking on this boat, it's very nice. I will stand here cooking, looking out the hatch at the beautiful surroundings. Opposite the galley here we have the fridge and freezer. Very lucky to have a freezer. There's a little fridge. And here we have the freezer. This whole system is very well thought out. This is a 12 volt eutectic system. So the system is quite well thought out. When the fridge is getting too warm, the thermostat will turn the fans on. One will suck the warm air out into the freezer, and the other one will blow cold air from the freezer into the fridge, and then it'll turn it off. So it works really good, and it runs easily off my solar power. I would say it turns on every 2 hours or so, but I haven't really timed it. My battery's always full by 12 o'clock. Here we have the switchboard. Lights, navigation, cabin lights, refrigeration, instrument, stereo, all these sorts of things. VHF radio, standard stuff. GPS, battery monitor, pretty much full. Inverter, on and off switch, and AIS transmit. If I'm in a piracy known area or I just don't want to have people see where I am, I just turn that one off. But most I leave it on. And as you can see inside, the wiring has been done to a very high standard. Everything is well labelled, and I installed the AIS system myself when I bought the boat, but everything else was pretty much done. Here under the floorboards, I will show you. So as you can see, it is a very flat bottomed boat, which makes it fast, which is great. These are keel bolts. There's 10 of them, 4 here, 4 in front and 2 behind. 150 litres of diesel fits inside the keel, not in the bulb, just in the fin, and the electric pump will pump it out of there and into my day tank. As you can see, it's all very clean. This is Kevlar reinforced, this whole area that holds the keel onto the bottom of the boat. But yeah, no real space down there for storage and things like that. There's very much not much room under the floor. As you can see right here, I have the invitation for the boat launch. Pretty cool to see it without a top or a keel or anything on it. Pretty cool. And this is the basic mock-up for the all yacht spars for their putting the rigging on. Yeah, you can see the mast 17.6 meters high, mainsail area 43.2 square meters, quite a bit of roach in it, 35.7 jib. It's a fractional rig and non-overlapping. So the rigging goes to the very outside of the hull, which I'll show in the next video, and makes it very easy to control the jib on tacks or jibes. It's not wrapping around the rigging or wrapping around the mast, it's just flicking straight across, as I've shown you in other videos. You can see the bulb keel, flat bottomed boat, and yeah, here you see the profiles from the bow to the stern. As you can see, as it gets back to the keel area, it's getting quite flat, and then it flattens out, the bottom of the boat flattens out. It doesn't get much narrower either. From the widest point, it pretty much stays the same, quite wedge shaped. This boat only being, well, 12 years old now, and only having one owner, who was the guy who built it, it was a big difference than my last boat. My last boat was built in 74, same age as me, 45 years old now. And it probably had 4 generations of everything on it, you know, like it had been, people had added things to it and just run wires, and it had all sorts of cabling. I ripped a lot of it out, but it was just impossible to know what was original, and there was probably not much original left on it. But on this boat, it's so nice to have the plans and the drawings and the specs for the whole thing. Everything's still original. Everything was the highest quality materials were used in this boat, the wiring and everything. So it's all still original. It's still quite new, and the things I'm adding to it, I'm trying to do in the same. I'm trying not to degrade the workmanship, to be honest. I'm trying to keep everything at a high standard, and I'm continuing with the documentation and having folders, all this thing. So it's pretty cool, and it really felt like I'm getting given an awesome piece of equipment, and I feel proud to keep trying to keep her at the same standard. Next up is navigation. This is a Raymarine C80. My AIS comes up on this. It's a pretty old unit. I think it was already a few years old when it got put in. I mean, it was brand new, but the technology was a few years old. And this will probably be the next thing I replace. Hopefully it'll last a couple more years though. This is my ICOM HF radio. This is just the front unit. Here is the actual radio itself. And then back down here we have the digital tuner for it, for the aerial. If I'm being totally honest, I haven't got the first clue about HF radio. I did a license to get my HF radio license, but it didn't teach you how to use the radio, just told you what not to do basically. I had to do that in order to get my AIS number, MMSI number. So yeah, I don't know how to use this radio. I've turned it on a few times, it all works flawlessly, but I wouldn't know how to pick someone up on it. And quite honestly, I'm thinking about taking it out and selling it. It would be a good backup for my Iridium Go satellite phone, but it's only a good backup if you know how to use it. There's no point in me having it, turning it on and not being able to use it. So over here I've got some books and stuff. Here we have inverter out, and this is shore power in. Here we have my little ladies on my boat. She's the nice one on that side, and we've got the slightly sneaky evil wench on this side, but I love them both. And I'm very stoked that my friend Lisa from Zurich came on board and painted them on there for me. Personalised the boat quite a lot. She's quite plain without that. Quite cool. When John was building this boat, his next door neighbour, it was maybe a 13 or 14 year old girl. She had just got into wood carving, and so she asked if she could do some carving on the boat. And he said yeah, so she carved this motive. Here is some sort of a sea snake, I guess. And yep, same on the other side, pretty cool. She also did these little inlays here with power shell on the drawer. Fire extinguisher, 1, 2, 3. Only 2 of them are actually showing in the green. I need to swap one of them out. That'll be next time I go to a decent sized town. Here's the EPIRB, GPS driven EPIRB, and also in this cupboard here I have a personal location device, PLB, a small one which I put in my grab bag when I'm out at sea. I'll put it in there and have a backup for people to find me. A good pair of binoculars on a boat is a must. My brother Fraser and his wife Monique bought these for my 40th birthday before I bought this boat. Bushnell, they're waterproof, they have a compass in them, very cool. They're still going good, and I use them every day practically, and I think investing some money in some good binoculars is worth it. I see some people with binoculars that you can barely see through, they're all just mold growing inside them, and I'm like, and I look through these things and I feel pretty happy. Thanks bro and sis, awesome, still using them. So I've only got a small table here. It's plenty big enough for 1 and just big enough for 2 if you get cozy. But to be honest, don't eat down here very often, mostly eating up in the cockpit. So back here we have the quarter berths. There's one on each side. Here's the other one. So decent sized bed in there. These are the parts of the boat that I changed. When I bought the boat, this whole zone and the other side were just bare to the hull, and this is where he kept all the 12 different racing sails, and I figured I would need a bit more storage for stuff, and also the possibility to have friends come on the boat and have a decent bed to sleep in, not just nesting down on some old sails. So I sold the sails and built all this stuff in. So there's a lot of storage in there. There's, you know, I actually haven't filled it up. There's still a lot of extra space. Here is a starter battery, high cold crank. Here is that's the throttle, forwards and reverse. The Raymarine one up here is autopilot. Over on this side it's the same thing. I just have my stand-up paddles down here when I'm at sea. Here a bilge pump, manual pump from down here, and up there is another bilge pump that's operated from the cockpit. Down under the steps here, under the companionway, there's the engine. She's a little Yanmar 3-cylinder, 27 horsepower and sail drive. Very compact, very small, very light. It's still only done 1,500 hours. This is a 30 litre day tank. So that gets pumped up, turning this handle, an electric pump, this little electric pump down here, pumps it out of the keel and up into this day tank. It's another one of these good details about this boat. They've thought things through. A, it's good to have the weight in the keel. B, it keeps the fuel cooler. The main reason people have with fuel and fuel bug and blocked filters and all those things, basically what happens is as the level of fuel in your tank gets down, there's more room for air in there, and that causes condensation, especially when it's very hot outside. So the condensation will drip down from the ceiling of the tank into the fuel. So that's A, water in your fuel, which you don't want, but also this little bacteria grows in the water particles and it turns into this black sludge. So probably what will happen is this sludge that's sitting on the bottom of your tank, just when you need your engine to go into a marina or over a bar crossing or get off a lee shore maybe, and your boat's getting slammed up and down in the waves, this sludge will come around through your fuel system, go into your fuel filter and block it instantly, and your engine will turn off. And you know that when you need your engine the most, that's probably what will happen. So basically you need to keep your fuel tanks as full as possible and as cool as possible. Don't change the temperature. So having the fuel in the keel, it's staying at the ocean temperature all the time, and you're only bringing 30 litres up into your day tank at a time. So that also keeps the level of the chance that you're bringing sludge into your day tank down. So it's quite a good system. So some of the tankage on the boat, I have 150 litres in the keel, 30 litres in the day tank, 180, and then I carry, I think, 3 jerry cans with 25 each. So that's plenty for this boat. It's only a 27 horsepower engine, and it's a very light boat, so I normally run at around 2,000 revs, sometimes lower if I'm sailing as well, if I'm motor sailing. That gets me along at 5.5 knots, and I can push it harder than that, but there's no real need most of the time. Water, I have on the specs when I bought the boat, it said 300 litres, 150 on each side here in the settees. I left the water tanks empty last season, and when I came back I ordered 300 litres of water, filled it in, and they were only 2/3 full. So I put another 100 litres in and they still weren't full, so I think I probably have around 450 litres, and then I carry another 50 litres in canisters as a backup. These are the water tanks. They have twin openings so I can get in there and clean them. If you think about it, having water tanks along the sides here, that's actually like a double hull sort of where that water tank is. If I would hit something there under the water line or on the water line, water wouldn't come into the boat. I would just lose my freshwater tank. So that's also something to think about. And then up the front of the water tanks here, I have big battery packs. So that's 250 amp hours, and I have the same on the other side. These batteries I replaced when I bought the boat. I upgraded the solar and the solar charger. I just basically renewed the energy system. So there's 500 amp hours of batteries, and I think I have 360 watts of solar. And this boat being so efficient and everything being so small, that's ample. I even gone so far as to buy an electric kettle now. You know, I just have excess electricity, and why use gas to heat water for coffees and noodles and cooking and things like that, when I can just use the power which fills up again the next day in the sun. So that's actually probably saved me 30% of gas usage this year alone, just using the electric kettle. So it's pretty cool. When I got the boat, I changed to all LED lighting. These days you don't have to change the whole light fitting. These are the original light fittings. I just got a converter and put an LED lamp inside them, and it's quite cheap, and I mean they're going to last years, and they use a fraction of the power. I can leave lights on 24 hours a day. It wouldn't make any difference. They basically don't even register on the meter. I also changed the all the navigation lights and outdoor lights to LED as well. Here I've got my fruit bag, very important. It's pretty free to swing around and doesn't damage the fruit and veg too much. Some things like these big avocados, they weren't quite ripe, so I don't want to put them in the fridge. They ripen better out here. And potatoes and onions and things like that need to stay dry. And it's better than having them in the pantry locked away. So these things work really good. So that's about it for inside the boat. I probably made a really long-winded description of a tiny little home, but it is my home and I love living here. As you see, I don't have a lot of clutter. I haven't got a collection of shells and whatnot. Everything I own has a home and it gets put away, and when I'm sailing, everything is just in its place. It's not going to explode and get thrown around. I really think about things when I put them on the boat. If I don't use it for a certain amount of months or a whole season, I'll give it away or sell it. I'm not a very good cog in this consumeristic world. I don't buy much stuff. I make do with what I've got. I try and fix it before I throw it away if it breaks. I think as I get guests coming on board who are artistic or locals, I'm going to get more of these sorts of things put in the boat. So that's going to be quite cool. The boat will just become more personalized as I go along. And hopefully you guys will see that as I go along. The boat will slowly get its own little vibe going. So I'm actually roasting down here now. It is maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Beautiful sunny day. And I have definitely been down here long enough. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave some comments in that below of what you think of my boat. The next video will be on the outside and the working environment, how everything works on the boat, the actual sailing part of it. I'll try and give you a good overview of that. I'll show you under the boat as well, the hull and the keel. And now it's time to go and enjoy here. You know, I'm here in Mazul in Western Papua, Indonesia, and it's probably a goal of most sailors to come here one day. I only arrived yesterday and I haven't seen much of it yet. So now I'm going to go and dive beneath the waves and go and have a look. And I'll show you some of this. So here goes. Here goes the coral that's right behind my boat. See you later. Thank you very much to all my patrons for your continued support, the new ones that are jumping on board every week. If you're curious about what all that means, patrons relatively new, go over to my Patreon site. There's a link below in the description. Find out what it's about. There's a few goodies in there for you. And really, it's just about appreciation. I really appreciate you guys all watching these videos and commenting and liking them and sharing them with your friends. And I think some of you really appreciate the effort that I put into making these videos. It is a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy it. But, you know, it's like a day and a half filming and a day and a half editing each one of these videos. So it's quite a bit of work. So all of you who throw some money at the Patreon, it's really appreciated. And I'm really stoked that you appreciate the time and effort that goes into making these videos. And I hope you're getting something out of these videos and not just watching me ramble on about stuff each time. Anyway, see you next week for the part 2 of this video. Take care, everyone. Enjoy life. Bye-bye.